All right, let's go ahead and solve this inequality. The main thing we need to remember with solving inequalities is that they're just like equalities or equations. The only difference is when we get down to the final step where we would divide by the coefficient or multiply by the reciprocal of a fraction is if that coefficient is negative, we'll need to flip the sign. Let's see if that happens in this case. So the first thing we're going to want to do is add 8 to both sides. And that gives us a 0 there, so that's a 0 pair. Now we have a 5x. This is greater than what would be a negative 15. Now this is the point, right, where we're going to divide on both sides. But what will we divide by? We're going to divide both sides by a positive 5, so it's not going to affect the inequality. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. We still have the x is greater than negative 15 divided by 5 is a negative 3. Last thing we really would want to do on this is just to check to make sure that our answer is correct. First thing we want to do is make sure that the inequality is equal when x is negative 3. Let me show you what I mean here. So notice in this equation I've replaced x with negative 3, but I don't want it to be greater than. This is the point where I'd want to see that they are equal. So I change it to equals, and this will tell us the point where the two sides are equal, as you can tell. But why is that important? It's important because as soon as we find values of x that are greater than or less than negative 3, it will change the inequality, okay? So let's go ahead and just make sure that this is equal. So 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. We still have minus 8 equals negative 23. We'll combine these and we see that negative 23 equals negative 23. That's just what we wanted to see there. The last thing we're going to want to do is look at the inequality, and we want to determine a value of x that would make this statement true, which would then show us that this statement is true. Now, some people do prefer to do this, find values of x that would make it false. For example, see how x here is greater than negative 3? So you could use any positive value, but if you wanted to make it false, you would find any value of x that is less than negative 3, which would make this statement false, which should then make our original equation false. So we're going to go ahead and choose true. So a value of x that would make that true. An easy value to work with is 0. 0 is greater than negative 3. And from here I can just check to make sure that this statement is greater than negative 23. Let's go ahead and do that. So I have 0 minus 8 is greater than negative 23, but I don't really need the 0 there, okay? Now this shows us that negative 8 is greater than negative 23. That is a true statement. So be careful on this. This is a negative value and this is a negative value. Once you start working with negatives, the lower negative value has greater value. For example, would you rather owe $8, owe $8, or owe $23? Well, hopefully you would want to owe something less, and in that case, it would make this a true statement.